Good morning, everyone. This is Russell Rucker, and I'm here for another constitutional talk. Now, a few weeks back now, we got started with the Federalist Papers, and I'd like to get in and continue that series now. Remember, the Federalist Papers were a group of papers to argue for signing on to the Constitution after the Constitutional Conventions, get the ratifying conventions to approve of it. And we're here today with Federalist number 3, which is written by John Jay, who was our very first Supreme Court Chief Justice. And he's writing to the people of New York because New York has not decided yet to approve the Constitution. So just keep that in mind as I read through this short Federalist paper. And keep in mind also that the Federalist Papers were basically editorials printed in the paper, and there were anti-Federalists arguing back and forth also. So you're talking here in the Federalists, it's one side of the argument, the anti-Federalists are the other. So let me go forth, though, and remember, these are the words of John Jay. To the people of the state of New York, it is not a new observation that the people of any country, if like the American, intelligent and well-informed, seldom adopt and seldom persevere for many years in an erroneous opinion respecting their interest. That consideration naturally tends to create great respect for the high opinion which the people of America have so long and uniformly entertained of the importance of their continuing firmly united under one federal government, vested with sufficient powers for all general and national purposes. So for a time now, they've been under a national government, and yes, they have. They've had the Articles of Confederation. But the Constitution is boldly different. The Articles of Confederation, they had a president, but it was the president of the Continental Congress. So it was a president of the same branch. And he was basically just a floor leader. But let me continue on with Jay's words. The more intently I consider and investigate the reasons which appear to have given birth to this opinion, the more I became convinced that they are cogent and conclusive. Among the many objects to which the wise and free people find it necessary to direct their attention, that of providing for their safety seems to be the first. The safety of the people doubtless has relation to a great variety of circumstances and considerations, and consequently affords great latitude to those who wish to define it precisely and comprehensively. At present, I mean only to consider it as it respects security for the preservation of peace and tranquility, as well as against dangers from foreign arms and influence, as from dangers of the little kind arising from domestic causes. As the former of these comes first in order, it is proper it should be the first discussed. Let us therefore proceed to examine whether the people are not right in their opinion that the cordial union under an efficient national government affords them the best security that can be devised against hostilities from abroad. So keep in mind, we're talking about the importance of the Constitution, of security, not from domestic threats, not even from the hostilities from Indians, but from foreign armies that would be inept on seizing our territory or otherwise harming us. And I continue on. The number of wars which have happened or will happen in the world will always be found to be in proportion to the number and weight of the causes, whether real or pretended, which provoke or invile them. If this remark be just, it becomes useful to inquire whether so many just causes of war are likely to be given by united America as disunited America. For it should turn out that the united America will probably give the fewest, then it will follow that in the respect of the Union tends most to preserve the people in a state of peace with other nations. So he's arguing that the strength together, the 13 colonies together, will be better than, say, 3 or 4 separated republics. And I continue. The just causes of war, for the most part, arise either from violations of treaties or from direct violence. America has already formed treaties with no less than 6 foreign nations, and all of them, except Prussia, are maritime and therefore able to annoy and injure us. She has also extensive commerce with Portugal, Spain, and Britain, and with respect to the latter, has in addition the circumstances of neighborhood to attend to. It is high importance to the peace of America that she observe the laws of nation towards all these powers, and to me it appears evident that this will be more perfectly and punctually done by one national government than it could be either by 13 separate states or by 3 or 4 distinct confederacies. Because when once an efficient national government is established, the best men of the country will not only consent to serve, but also will generally be appointed to manage it. For although town or country or other contracted influence may place men in state assemblies or senates or courts of justice or executive departments, yet more generally the extensive reputation for talent and other qualifications will be necessary to recommend to offices under the national government, especially as it will have the widest field for choice, and never experience that want of proper persons which is not uncommon. In some of the states, hence, it will result that the administration, the political councils, and the judicial decisions of the national government will be more wise, systematical, and judicious than those of individual states, and consequently more satisfactory with respect to other nations as well as more safe with respect to us. Because under the national government, treaties and articles of treaties, as well as the laws of nation, will always be expounded in one sense and executed in the same manner, whereas agitations on the same points and questions in 13 states or in 3 or 4 confederacies will not always accord to be consistent, and that as well from a variety of independent courts and judges appointed by different and independent governments as from the different local laws and interests which may affect and influence them. The wisdom of the convention in committing such questions to the jurisdiction and judgment of courts appointed by and responsible only to one national government cannot be too much commended, because the prospect of present loss or advantage may often tempt the governing party in 1 or 2 states to swerve from good faith and justice, but those temptations not reaching the other states, and consequently having little or no influence on the national government, the temptation will be fruitless, and good faith and justice be preserved. The case of the Treaty of Peace with Britain adds great weight to this reasoning, because even if the governing body in a state should be disposed to resist such temptations, yet as such temptations may and commonly do result from circumstances peculiar to the state, and may affect a great number of the inhabitants, the governing party may not always be able, if willing, to prevent the injustice mediated or to punish the aggressors, but the national government not being affected by those local circumstances, will neither be induced to commit the wrong themselves, not want power or inclination to prevent or punish its commission by others. So here he's arguing that local influences will be less burdensome in a national government than if we had a series of state or smaller confederacies. So far, therefore, as either design or accidental violations of treaties and the laws of nations afford just causes of war, they are less to be apprehended under one general government than under several lesser ones. And in that respect, the former most favors the safety of the people. As to those just causes of war, which proceed from direct and unlawful violence, it appears equally clear to me that one good national government affords vastly more security against dangers of that sort that can be derived from any other quarter, because such violences are more frequently caused by the passions and interests of a part than of the whole, of one or two states than of the Union. Not a single Indian war yet has been occasioned by aggression of the present federal government, feeble as it is. But there are several instances of Indian hostilities having been provoked by the improper conduct of individual states, who either unable or unwilling to restrain or punish offenses, having given occasion to the slaughter of many innocent inhabitants. So here he begins discussing the more domestic dangers, that of Indian uprisings and of mistakes by one state that more than likely would not be done by the greater group of states. And he continues, the neighborhood of Spanish and British territories bordering on some states and not on others naturally confines the causes of quarrel more immediately to those borders. The bordering states, if any, will be those who, under the impulse of sudden irritation and quick sense of apparent interest or injury, will be most likely by direct violence to excite war with the nations, and nothing can so effectually obviate the danger as a national government, whose wisdom and prudence will not be diminished by the passions which actuate the parties immediately interested. But not only fewer just causes of war will be given by the national government, but it will also be more in their power to accommodate and settle them amicably. They will be more temperate and cool, and in that respect, as well as in others, will be more in capacity to act advisedly than the offending state. The pride of states, as well of men, naturally disposes them to justify all their actions, and opposes their acknowledging, correcting, or repairing their errors and offenses. The national government in such cases will not be affected by this pride, but will proceed with moderation and candor to consider and decide on the means most proper to extricate them from the difficulties which threaten them. Besides, it is well known that acknowledgments, explanations, and compensations are often accepted as satisfactory from a strong united nation, which would be rejected as unsatisfactory if it offered by a state or confederacy of little considerations of power. In the year 1685, the state of Genoa, having offended Louis XIV, endeavored to appease him. He demanded that they should send their doge or chief magistrates, accompanied by 4 of their senators, to France to ask his pardon and receive his terms. They were obliged to submit to it for the sake of peace. Why he on occasion either have demanded or have received the like humiliation from Spain or Britain or any other powerful nations. And he signs it Publius. National security is the first duty of government. Safety, and priorities. Now keep that in mind. Now I do have our globe here. In blue, you have our united country. At this time, this globe is written to 1783. You have New Spain throughout here. You have French in a couple of quarters, French left, and you have Britain up to the north. And he talks about this, as a possibility of war, but that we would be stronger as one united country than if we had divided into 3 or 4 separate confederacies. And obviously, there's the great danger of war from overseas, from those countries that have large navies. And he mentions those countries by name and the treaties that we have, and Prussia being the only one that does not have a navy. It's more of a landlocked in which we have a treaty with. The first duty of government is the security of its people. That's why we bound together with castles in Europe, where a king would control a small area, and it was for security of the peasants out in the land that were farming and tending the fields. And if there was a danger, they could come into the castle and be protected by that. That's the whole idea here of a greater common country that will be stronger to fend off the enemy. And it would be safer than remaining individual states, and that is the prime reason, the first reason that Jay mentions. And what he's arguing about here is national security, the first reason, the most important reason to sign on to the new Constitution and remain within the Union or the Confederacy, become a republic. And that's what Jay's arguing here. Think about what he's saying, and with the prism of history, we know this to be true. We have a large country today, much larger than what they ever really envisioned in 1787, when they were 1788 really, when they're discussing and trying to debate these issues. Thank you for your time today. And we'll catch you next time on the next Constitutional Talk. Goodbye for now. Have a good day, folks. Have a good week. Bye.